Hey everyone, welcome to the Horror Show. I'm Cecil Laird.
I'm Fuego here.
Marcia.
And we're back with another in-theater review for you guys for one that just came out. We saw it tonight on a Thursday. You guys will hopefully see this review tomorrow if all goes according to plan, which is the official opening day for Resident Evil, the final chapter.
Or is it?
Okay, we'll get there. Okay, so we're going to talk about it like we normally do, and then we're going to do a quick hitter spoiler section at the very end because, quite frankly, that's what we want to talk about the most. But
so we'll forewarn you, though.
Exactly. We will let you know ahead of time, but you can watch everything up until then without any issues. So first off, we're going to talk about it like usual. Let's do our overall thoughts on it, which I thought, wow, there was perhaps more to some of this movie than a lot of the past episodes. It was just as vapid and forgettable as a lot of the other ones as well. Outside of the fact that you can label it the final chapter, and so that'll make it a little easier to remember than some of the others. There's not much to the whole thing other than that. It again, I got that calloused feeling where nothing was breaking through, just like Underworld. So, Fuego, your overall thoughts?
You see, if you compare this to Underworld, I've always been so much more entertained by this series than Underworld, and this continued the trend, although...
Better than Blood Wars.
So much better than Blood Wars, at least as far as an entertainment cheese factor goes. At least there was fighting in this. There was violence galore.
There's probably not 5 minutes that went by without action happening, which is... interesting. Go ahead.
Yeah, exactly. And so this series is almost like Star Trek for me, where it's like every other I'm really entertained by, and the others I'm just kind of like the original Resident Evil I did not like, and yet the second one I really enjoyed. Apocalypse I thought was badass and entertaining, much more, you know, akin to the games, and maybe that's why I liked it so much, was because it most closely resembled the plot of the gaming. And then Extinction came out, and then they were out in the desert, and I thought that was kind of blah. But then the fourth one, Afterlife, I was entertained by, and then Retribution I thought was kind of so-so. This one, I liked. It wasn't great, but I had fun with it. So, Marcia, what about you?
I thought the throwbacks were cool. I mean, I don't know. Like, it was like what I expected it to be. I didn't expect much out of it. I mean, they had to end it somehow, and just from the trailers alone, I was like, okay, yeah, this is probably not gonna be a favorite of mine, but I was entertained through it.
Yeah.
So let's hit the story then. Basically, the story is given in the trailer. Alice has to return to the Hive from the first movie to either confront the original creator, or one of the original guys having to do with the T-Virus, who is a returning actor from a previous installment. I don't know if it was the first one or not.
I couldn't remember if we'd seen him before or not. All these movies start to mush together after a while.
It's entirely possible we did not see him before,
yeah.
But either way, they folded him in like we had. And I will say, I liked the intro, the recap bit. I thought that was, again, they do a really good job of bringing you back into the world, so you're not thrown entirely to the wolves, as it were, but you are a little bit, because Alice starts off crawling out of rubble, and I didn't remember how the last one ended. So she's all alone, but so she has to get back to Raccoon City within 48 hours. It's that timed cannonball run kind of thing, but it's just, it's so haphazard, and you know she's going to make it in time. Like, the 48-hour thing is clearly a gimmick at this point. It's
totally silly.
Totally unnecessary.
Although, thankfully, they didn't play the Guns N' Roses song, because I hated the use of it in the trailers. I
was surprised. If they paid for the royalties to play it in the trailer, I'm surprised they didn't just kick it onto the movie, too. Maybe they didn't want to pay twice for it.
They could probably afford it for the trailer.
Those guys made so much money touring this past year. They're like, no, we're not giving you any more money, sorry.
So what did you guys think of the story, then? I thought it was just kind of okay, although it was more solid than most of the past ones.
So I'll just say this much, because I don't want to spoil anything. Apparently what would be a spoiler was something that I thought was the truth the whole time. So I guess everything that they revealed in the story was not new to me for some reason.
Maybe you sensed it from previous installments.
So I'm pretty sure I was told at some point, or maybe I was selective remembering things.
You tend to read what you want out of messages.
And apparently I was correct. Maybe I'm psychic, but I was not shocked, or I was pretty bored through the whole thing, and I was like, "Is this even necessary?" So
it was really easy. You could like see all the twists and turns coming up, you know, 5th Street, 3 miles away. Like
easily.
it was really like, okay, and then this is gonna happen, and then that's who that's supposed to be. Oh, that voice tipped me off very easily. There's no mystery left.
Foreshadow.
Yeah, it just wasn't. The story just left a lot to be desired. And again, we're so full in movies nowadays of items of convenience. That's what and whether it be items or moments of convenience, it's chock full of them. Characters appear and drop away at the director's whim, like for absolutely no reason, especially towards the end where it's like, okay, well, I'll save that because that was just ridiculous. But anyway, so that's the story. So let's get into the acting. I thought it's so.
It was serviceable.
It was serviceable. I mean, everyone did their jobs. Alice somehow looks exactly the same as she did in the first movie.
She's such a babe. I've loved her since The Fifth Element.
She sucks the souls out of small children.
Is that what happens?
That's what I heard. It's kind of like that episode of South Park where Christopher Reeves is sucking the fetuses.
No, everybody learned it from Hocus Pocus.
It's just a bunch of Hocus Pocus.
You see, I just wish they gave better lines to these actors.
Dusty Comser was before Hocus Pocus.
That was a bile.
Still sucking the life, but anyway.
Robert Zemeckis, by the way. No, just to chime it in one more time and bring the point home. I wish they just gave better lines to these actors because I felt like
horrible.
There was some cringe-worthy dialogue, and I mean, points where you were expecting a quip to come or like a one-liner, and dead silence, and you're just like, oh, there was a cool kill, and then like, okay. But I mean, I actually have to say, Ali Larter did a decent job in this as Claire Redfield. I mean, she was okay.
For the 10 minutes she was in it.
She was okay the previous times we'd seen her, and so
she had a lot more to chew on the last few times. Like, outside of Alice, Claire, the bad guy, and Wesker, everyone else was completely nondescript.
I must admit, I always like seeing Wesker in this series. I feel like the guy who plays him does a solid job, not like a blow you away, oh my god, he's so great, but he's pretty much on point with the video game, kind of sullen whateverness, but I know we both have reservations about the way they portray him.
But he didn't even look real to me in this
For different
movie.
reasons.
It looks like he looks like Wesker from the games, which is nice, but the thing that doesn't work is having Wesker look the exact same for 15 real years while these movies are going on. Like, he needs to update somehow in the movies.
So did they like change his face to use CG to keep him looking the same? Because he looked really
He looked like he had a glossiness to
him.
him.
Always looks that way. It's so weird why they make him look that way. But anyway, so that's the acting. It's serviceable. Nothing to write home about. Music is just, pounding, action-driven music. Not much to really speak of there.
Nothing's been good except for when Marilyn Manson scored the first film. Even though I didn't like the original movie as a film, I thought the score was great. But they haven't had much interesting going on since then.
By the way, at what point did the zombies get upgraded to runners? Because in the first one, they were definitely walkers.
They were.
I remember it was a big thing about they casted a dude that could dislocate his foot so he could drag it behind him because they walked.
Yeah, this is definitely a post-World War Z zombie world that we saw.
And
post 28 Days Later. 28 Days Later was the first one to really.
That too, but I mean, that's what really popularized it. And plus, I was looking before we sat down to watch this. We hadn't seen a Resident Evil movie since 2012. That's a long time we were waiting for this one.
And they kept saying, like, it's been 10 years. I'm like, bitch, it's been 20 years. What are you talking about? Like, it's that movie, that series started a long time ago.
I think it was like 2000?
It was early.
Like
it was not 10
years.
They should have just stuck,
anyway.
I mean, if it was 2001, they should have just said 15 years. Because it's a nice round number. Anyway, neither here nor there. Let's get to the effects. Because that's what everyone wants to know about Resident Evil, in my estimation. And
a lot of CG, but
lots of CG, but I gotta say,
dope.
Yeah, they put time and effort into CG. Now, the dragon creature thing that you see in every trailer, I thought that looked really good. And I thought the really awesome creature with the massive teeth, I thought he was really cool. But there was only one of him.
Yeah.
And I liked how they introduced him, which is literally biting someone's head off. I was like, oh yeah, that was cool.
That was one of my moments.
Yeah.
One of the moments that I thought they actually were successful. And the dogs were awesome. And I love the dogs.
And they kept them in shadows the whole time, so
they looked super creepy.
Yeah, so you couldn't tell any problems with them.
Right. But I don't know, they had a couple of times where you got a little close to them when they died and stuff.
Without spoiling anything, at one point, a couple of dogs end up in water. And it's really funny because they end up just sinking, which makes sense because they don't have the buoyancy because there's holes throughout their body.
Good observation.
So yeah, they just sink right to the bottom because they don't have that buoyancy to them. So that was that. I thought I was like, okay, good, they're paying attention. Yeah. But then I expected them to just basically walk on the bottom until they get out.
Yeah.
Which would have also made sense. So they thought it halfway.
Yeah, that's the thing. A lot of this was half thought. Like again, I can't wait till we get to the spoilers. But the one thing I wanted to mention that we don't normally talk about is the editing of the movie.
Oh, I did want to just say I like the look of the Red Queen. And there was a couple fight scenes that I thought there was some slow motion bullet, almost like kind of trying to predict what was going to happen.
That reminded me of
stuff. I actually thought that was cool.
What was that from? What was the movie that we saw where someone was
like the last? It was
like Hush. It was Hush. She predicted all the different scenarios.
Yeah. I thought that was cool.
I thought that too.
You would think it was cool.
You wouldn't because you hate that movie so much.
I thought it was so ridiculous and out of context.
No, and it is out of context. It comes out of nowhere.
Like
but we have had a moment where two people literally have the fight in their head, and then they know who the winner is, and one just gives up. Like that's it's not exactly what happens. Again, I'm not spoiling, but they do have sort of a mental. This is what's going to happen. No, this is what's going to happen. No, this is what's going to happen. No, this is what's going to happen.
Well, they have heightened senses and stuff, Marcia. I mean, you didn't...
No, but she said she didn't have powers anymore. So how are they creeping back in? Like that's the weird thing. Again, the logic is all over the place.
It was just a really minor mention of her not having powers anymore. So
it's all over the place. So I mean, is there anything else we need to... Oh, yeah. So the editing. Yeah, I almost forgot my point.
Sorry. No, that was my bad.
Frenetic as hell. Frenetic
just like this
hell.
Review.
The action, I was paying attention. I'm like, okay, what's this action going to be like? And it was... Cut, and it was
gotta keep your attention.
But that's the thing. It drives me to not. It's like it's just white noise. I'm like, okay, I don't know what's going on. Like, who is swinging what, and how is this and what? Here in the age of the Raid Redemption or Dread or John Wick, we know how to do action without cutting every half a second. Let us get an idea and show the technique of the people. No, this is all quick cuts to get around possibly poor stunt work or something because it was too much to keep track of.
I think they were just forcing too much. So it was so fast and with no build. Like it was slow getting to where she needed to be.
Oh, I was so bored with the first quarter of the movie. I was like, oh my lord.
The time limit thing just gave me anxiety, and she just kept getting knocked out, and then hours would go by, and I'm like,
always happens in the
yeah, but just get there. Nobody cares about anything but the hive. Just be at the hive.
No, I agree.
If they would have just spent most of the time at the hive, I would have been
otherwise it would have been a 45-minute movie.
It seemed like they tried to have a finale showdown in the middle of the movie when the big army arrives, and it's like. That was quick. They wanted to do too much in this last movie. I think it wouldn't surprise me if this was planned out to be 2 more movies. Then he's just like, screw it, let's just cram it. I'm done. She's done. Let's just get it all done.
She wants to have more kids, and I don't blame her.
No, I don't either. She's not gonna look that way forever, but good for her because she's held it together. Yeah. But I don't know. Is there anything else we should mention before we hit the spoilers?
I would have done it different.
The whole thing?
The whole thing.
Okay. All right. Well, I think we would have we would have done.
I don't know. It's just I have other ideas. Anyways, go ahead.
So, first thing I want to spoil. We'll get to yours, Marcia, but I want to talk about Wesker because that pissed me off because Wesker is built up to be this big badass in these past movies, so much so that if I'm not mistaken, he turns into a giant monster at the end of one of them.
It was either Afterlife or Retribution. I can't
remember. It was 4 or 5. Yeah. I thought it was Afterlife though, but it might have been Retribution. Either way, he turns into a giant monster, gets destroyed supposedly at the end. It must have been 4 because he supposedly killed everyone at the end of 5, right? He thought he had...
When they all got to DC.
And he's like, the big bad in this one was like, you were supposed to take care of her. And he's like, that's impossible. So I guess it was end of 4 would have been the giant monster thing. So Wesker was essentially impossible to kill the entire series. And then at the end of this one, he's taken out by a goddamn door. He got Harrison Forded on the last Star Wars movie. And his leg got taken out, and he couldn't move from that.
And he died.
And he just gave up. It's like, what?
If he was such a badass, wouldn't he just rip the limb off and just keep
regrow it and like
something?
hop super fast? Like he had the
logic,
speed
my dear
powers
Watson,
and
logic.
So it just oh, no good. Pissed me off. No good. Okay.
Okay, so I am going to spoil the big reveal because it wasn't a big reveal for me because I thought it was the truth the whole time. So apparently Alice is a clone. Shocker. I guess I missed something or I just picked something up in the previous movies, but I thought she already knew she was a clone, like the original one had died and she was the clone of her. And so like when we watched the trailer and I was like, well, why did they even introduce that whole line? Like, I feel like I've been fighting my whole life. Like, yeah, you have been. You're a clone. And then they reveal, like, oh no, you're the clone of this lady. And obviously she is the Red Queen, who is the daughter of the guy who created the T-virus. So
yeah, basically the person that she was cloned from is one of the original Umbrella board members.
Yeah.
And the Red Queen, the little girl from the first movie and this movie, was created as an example of what she was like as a little girl. So technically there were 3 different life stages of
Alyssa.
the bitch, as it was.
Yeah.
As he called
The
her.
Trinity of Bitches.
The Trinity of Bitches,
Yeah.
right, yeah.
That line made me laugh.
But I thought, okay, and then I didn't know that she was her, but when they first started the movie and they were talking about how, because they're doing the kind of the background of Umbrella and everything, and they were talking about how he like captured his daughter and her voice and her memories and all of this stuff, and they created the Red Queen, and I was like, oh, I bet that's Alice. And like I was right. Like
Call it.
I don't know. So I guess it's a big reveal for everybody else, but apparently I was ahead of the game.
Yeah,
Intuition.
Yeah, and the voice thing that I mentioned earlier was the reveal that old Alice was the board member, because we go into the dude's memory and we hear him say, okay, the T-virus is how we're gonna fix the world or whatever, and then you hear this old woman's voice say something, and I'm like, oh, that's Alice, that's Mia Jovovich doing, or Mila, whatever, doing an old woman's voice, so she's obviously a clone of that old woman.
I just have to interject real quick, because I thought in one of the earlier installments, you know how she said in this one, she's like, I can't remember anything. I thought she gained memories and remembered having a husband and a child and all that, and I was pretty positive that showed up in one of the earlier.
It's possible.
In the earlier
it was either
ones.
1 or 2 that she did remember her life before, and I guess they threw that out of continuity. But I mean, there is so much silliness in this, especially with all
when
the
they gave her powers, they rebooted her and deleted her memory again.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. That's what I didn't remember. But
I believe that's the case.
At least all the cloning and stuff, just to piggyback on what Marcia said, it's more convoluted than like the clone saga in Spider-Man at this point, man. It's just like, is he a clone?
I kept that straight.
No, but I mean the fact that there was Kane and there was, I mean, was Peter Parker or was Ben Reilly, and just all the confusion. He is, he isn't, so on and so forth. And I don't know. At the end of the day, you're not supposed to think too hard on these movies. They're here to entertain us, and that's about it, in my estimation.
But they didn't even have a good kill for the main bad guy, the guy that created all of this, and the whole thing is they're trying to wipe out humanity to start anew, like Noah's Ark.
He got stabbed by himself.
He got stabbed by himself.
Well, he had a little, like, a grenade blow up.
Yeah, he had a grenade blow off half of his stomach.
Which made no sense.
I wanted to see him get sliced by the lasers, damn it. And when that didn't happen, I was like, we just got a little fingies going.
And the last thing I want to say is, I don't think I've seen more people escape fireballs having been in the middle of them.
Yeah, when they blew up that whole tower. And
they blew up the whole tower. Allie Larder and her husband get blown away. Alice at the very beginning gets blown away from her destroying the dragon creature, the thing blown up. She also drives through a fireball when the tank is trying to shoot her down. Like there's people going through fire all over this movie.
Fire is not formidable, apparently.
The tank. She blew up the tank from the inside out.
And they were fine. They were barely charred.
There was a whole group of people who weren't even touched. So I don't know what to say after that.
There's not much to say after a movie like that outside of what we've already said.
Except for the fact that they left it open for another movie. which kind of totally bugged me, man. I mean, the fact that she's like, my journey's not over. The antidote that they basically put her, the antivirus, whatever it was, the way to reverse the T virus. I thought it was going to cure people instead of just killing everybody.
An airborne T virus, like an airborne antivirus. They just have that's the most. That's the most convenient,
very convenient
device to bring up in the final movie. Oh, suddenly there's an airborne antivirus,
and it was created by the people who created the virus and the Noah's Ark references and all that stuff.
What really pissed me off?
Like, you were there at the beginning. Like, why didn't you grab? Like, they knew that in the beginning. No, they did. They had the No, they had an antivirus in the very first one when that girl got infected. Yes. When the girl got infected, they're like, "Oh, we have the antivirus."
Michelle Rodriguez?
Yeah. But then she didn't get it in time.
It's been so long, I don't remember.
I forget what ended up happening, but they did have the antivirus.
Either way, the last thing I wanted to say is...
maybe the virus mutated,
I don't know.
So they defeat the evil at the end. It's Alice and Claire. They're the only ones left. And, like, they've literally got, a swath of dead T-virus zombies in front of them. And we already found out earlier in the movie that there's only about 4,000 people left on the whole planet. And so her and Laird are, like, getting the rest of the information, and Alice is finding out that her journey might not be over. And the next shot is Alice shooting off in a motorcycle by herself.
Yeah.
Where'd Claire go?
What the fuck? Like, Claire doesn't want to join in when there's 4,000 people left? No,
weren't they homies? Weren't they fighting together?
Yeah. Why not? Whatever. That's the most ridiculous end.
We're lone wolves.
Maybe she was going on the other side and we just didn't see her. I don't know.
Or maybe they'll explain it in the next one.
Who knows? I don't know. I like the dogs. I like and when all the zombies just... I like this shot of when the zombies all died, when she finally dropped the vial and it opens up, and then they all, like,
you mean after she genuflected for, like, 30 seconds?
Oh my god. Like, am I gonna drop this? Because I'm like, I don't know what she was waiting
on. Oh my god, I finally made it to the end of the line.
I only have 50 seconds left, but
I might as well wait. I was like, is she waiting for, like, a timer to go off to drop this? Like,
she's like, I gotta do this movie style.
This doesn't make
2
sense.
Oh no.
It was more stretching of the movie, like you criticized it very rightfully for.
But anyways, when it does release, I thought it was cool to watch all of the zombies just go drop like dominoes. I just thought it was a cool shot.
There's cool parts in this movie, but I mean, is it something that you're going to remember years down the line, just like all the other ones? No, probably not.
There was actually a shot that was basically exactly like the shot in Train to Busan, where the zombies are running after the train in a train yard, and they're like starting to catch on to it. There was that exact same shot chasing a tank, and it's like I watched it and I'm like, that was done better.
Go watch Train to Busan, by the way. Watch our review of it here too.
That's a great zombie movie.
Damn good movie.
So
yeah.
All right, well, I think that's it. Our spoiler section went on a little bit longer, but you guys, honestly, we might have just saved you some time and money because.
Just watch it on Netflix.
Yeah, just wait. We
watched it 3D too, and I didn't see that.
Did not need it.
3D.
Did not need it.
No, save your
extra $3.
Don't dig deep into those pockets. Seriously.
So that's gonna do it for our review of Resident Evil Final Chapter. Let us know if you've seen it, what you thought, or let us know if you're even gonna bother after watching this review. Thanks very much for watching. I've been Cecil Laird.
Gracias, Jaime, and Fuego.
I'm Marsh Parker.
While you're down commenting, click the link in the description box for our TeePublic site where you can get our cool Coexist design as well as some horror show logo stuff and some really cool horror crossover designs for t-shirts and other fun stuff. So if you do that, yes, you'll be supporting us. Thank you very much. And remember, stay scared.